Hi everyone, and what's up people. In this video we will talk about some more basics of work in Unity that we have not mentioned in the video about the basics in Unity part 1. So we will now mention more things that every beginner or someone who uses Unity for not a long time should know. So let's get started. I have here an empty and simple scene. And the first thing that I will show is how to make a new scene and how to save a scene when we want to turn off the Unity. So currently we have no scene. So we see here that untitled actually appear because we don't have a scene. So in order to create a scene, we are going here to the assets folder, right click here, go to create and choose the scene. And now give the name of our scene, which is going to be our scene simply. So our scene. And when I click enter, we see that we are now in our scene. So here appear our scene.unity and also here appear that we are in our scene. And when we are in our scene actually, we see that we currently have just this main camera in hierarchy. So whenever and whatever we have in our game, actually in our world scene, this will appear here in hierarchy panel. So currently we just have a main camera. And when we click on the main camera, we see that automatically Unity show us the inspector panel that show us what the main camera have attached on her. So we see that main camera has some different components attached on her, like camera, like flare layer actually, and audio listener. And I won't explain what does this camera and flare layer and audio listener actually means, because it's not very important for people who use Unity for not a long time. And that is that. So moving on, what we are going to now create is actually a game object like in Unity Basics Part 1. So go to the create empty actually, and we created an empty game object, and we see that we actually get this transform by default whenever we create a game object. So I will put these 3 axes for the position on the 0, and what we are going to attach to our game object. So we are going to attach simply box collider 2D. And just going here to the size and resize our box collider on the x-axis for a bit 7. So 7 number, and we resize our game object, so no game object, but resize our box collider 2D on the x-axis by 7 numbers. So go down here and put him here. Yeah, this nice place. And also what I want to show you is how to import some assets to the Unity. So this is very easy. So go to the folder where is your assets, and just drag and drop him to the assets folder right here. And this is whole philosophy. We import our assets to the Unity. So we import this small cowboy character to the, very nice, huh? So in order to, we can now add him to the screen or to the game. Actually we need to just like in previous, just drag and drop him to the world point right here, and also we import our cowboy character to the game actually. So as I said, in hierarchy panel appear whatever we have in our world point right here in our scene actually. So whatever we have, this appear here in hierarchy panel. So we just currently have main camera, game object, and our cowboy character. So if I attach to the character rigid body 2D, because as I said we are in 2D platform, in 2D mode, and if we now, for example, run the game, we see that our player falling down. And how long he falling down, we cannot see him anymore because the gravity affects him and he fall down very fast. But one thing that we have noticed is that he gets through the box collider. And we know from the Unity Basics Part 1 that box collider is a shape that didn't allow the other game objects to get through them. It's like a wall, like a shape that is unbreakable. And why our cowboy go through the box collider? Well, because our cowboy doesn't have any box collider attached on them. So this collider cannot handle it because our cowboy doesn't have any collider attached on it. So we will now of course add some collider, like also box collider, on our cowboy, and just to resize it a little bit on the x-axis. I think, yeah, this is the nice, I think this is okay. And now when we run the game, we see that the cowboy just falls a little bit and then stops. And why he stops? Well, because it literally collided with the downside game object, which we, if you remember, also attached the box collider 2D on him. So if we go to the scene and choose the game object, this is that game object which we attach a box collider 2D, and our player actually stands on him. So we mentioned that the colliders collide with each other because they are like unbreakable walls. That is, this was just one example of impenetrable colliders, and let's get on. I will also now show you how to make a reusable game objects which you can delete from the scene, but you can return or reuse them whenever you want with all of its components. And this is called making a prefab of endgame objects. So if we, for example, want to delete our cowboy from the scene and we want to reuse it after some time, after for example 2 minutes, we can easily put our cowboy to the assets folder right here, and we create a prefab of our cowboy. So now our cowboy is actually a prefab, and as I said, we can easily delete him from the scene and we can turn him back whenever we want. So in which time we want, we can return him back or reuse this cowboy character. So because now our character is actually this prefab, and prefab is marked with this small blue cube right here, neither the cowboy. So this is this philosophy about making a prefab of an game object. So if we don't make a prefab of an game object that we need to return or reuse in the game, we can have a trouble, because this, if you see, this prefab actually return all of his components. So it return a rigid body 2D and box collider which we are attached. So if we for example again delete our cowboy and again return it to the screen, we also see that he still have this rigid body 2D, box collider 2D, and this is the beauty of these prefabs. But if we, for example, turn these cowboy assets right here to the screen, we doesn't see anything, because this cowboy assets is not actually a prefab and this cowboy is a prefab. So this with blue cube right here is a prefab because we made this cowboy like a prefab. And I think you learned something new in this video. You learn about scene world point, you learn about importing the assets, about colliders, testing the colliders, and using a prefabs in our game, and actually creating a prefab. And this is this for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you can like this video or subscribe my channel, this will help me a lot. So also thank you in advance for that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.